Swamiji said, "Here activity prevailed when even Greece did not exist, when Rome was not thought of, when the very fathers of the modern Europeans lived in the forests and painted themselves blue. Even earlier, when history has no record and the tradition does not peer into the gloom of that intense past, even from then until now, ideas after ideas have marched out from her, but every word has been spoken with a blessing behind it and peace before it." However, we need to ponder over whether there has come a poverty in the generation of ideas, required ideas in our nation, and if it is so, there has to be an endeavor to overcome it. With these lines, I introduce today's guest speaker, Shri Ram Subramanian. Shri Ram Subramanian has been interested in knowledge processes among our people and how it manifests as institutions and initiatives. He has been the witness and participant to a few and have studied others. His research work has been in understanding community institutions and how they work in rural India. He, along with his wife Rama, have started Samanvaya in 1998 and have been since then working with several interesting social ventures. Currently, he is involved in shaping a few sustainable agricultural initiatives with the Tamil Nadu government and others, apart from doing some farming himself. I now request our guest to address the audience.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me to come over and talk to students at IIT. It is always a privilege to be in this institution. And I was telling your organizers that it's almost like 8 years back I was in the same forum addressing, and this is after almost 8 years I'm here again. And it's a double honor to be addressing in the presence of Swamiji's here from the ashram, because it is the place where one learned most of what one knows about India and people. Today it is a very interesting kind of a situation in which we are discussing development, and when the organizers asked me a subject or a title under which I can put together or share my experience, I had suggested that I will talk about the idea of development that we have pursued. Primarily because that is all I know. And having been part of several development initiatives in the last 10-15 years, understanding a few and being part of some, looking at some that fail, looking at few that succeed, most of our knowledge has been in understanding this. Plus also, in the process, we have understood a few things about how communities work in this country, how institutions are built in this country among people. So that is what I thought I could share with you. I am not a good lecturer. I don't know how to lecture, having never been a teacher of sorts. I've been more of a consultant, which means I need a question for me to raise an answer. So I would break whenever any of you have questions, or if you just yawn, that is good enough for me to stop and ask you to talk to me instead, because listening is much more easier. Having said that, I put together a short presentation that I want to start with. And because when I started and put together this idea, what do I mean by poverty of imagination? I thought perhaps saying poverty of imagination alone leaves the sentence half. Then what is the other half of the sentence? And that is when forums such as the Vivekananda Study Circle inviting me, I thought the other half is the science of human possibilities. This is a title Swami Ranganathananda, who was earlier president of the Ramakrishna Order. used to give to Vedanta. He used to say the science of human possibilities to Upanishads. And he used to quote the famous scientist Aldous Huxley and saying the science of human possibilities. But to begin with, I will talk about this title, Poverty of Imagination. Primarily because today, when we talk about development, we largely talk about this idea of poverty amidst us. What is the idea of poverty we have? How many types of poverty we talk about? And from there, how do we develop from, or how do we get rid of this poverty? And there are different facets to it, and I will focus initially in my presentation on where we are today in the development, or in a pursuit of a certain idea of development, where we have reached today. And later, I will talk about why our imagination has not taken a particular shape and why it has taken a different shape. So I will present to you a few encounters with very ordinary Indians, communities across Tamil Nadu, which is where largely I have learned over the last 10 to 15 years. Before I start, I guess I need to be making this political statement because we live in amazing times. Just as I came, just before I left my office, I saw that the UNHRC resolution has been passed, and the US resolution has been passed with a majority, not a big majority, but a small majority. So I just want to say that I know that a couple of days back there was an IIT also a group that had done some demonstration, and it is amazing times that we are in the middle of such amazing student movement going around. There's a spontaneity which we respect, and we want to express our solidarity there. What is it that my own journey of development, like I said earlier, what is development and what do we mean when we say we are going to be developed? Like, how many of you have read Vision 2020 by Dr. Abdul Kalam? Anybody here? Yeah, so do you know what happens in 2020 to us? Yourself, sir. There is this thing of India will become a superpower. So my question has always been, on January 1st, 2020, do we wake up and say today we have become superpower? And then we say, wow, from today onwards we have become the superpower of the world. How does it happen? If you are not a superpower in your mind today, how can you be a superpower on 2020 January 1st? If so, what is it that India is a superpower of? Is it more arms? Is it developing nuclear arsenal? Is it developing a large IT manpower? Is it becoming the back office of the world? Is it becoming the largest urban-centered slums of the world? What is it that we call becoming a superpower? And what is the idea of we that we say when we say we will become developed? Who are the we? I mean, what are we? You know, what is our understanding and knowledge on this conflicts of development? How do we see ourselves once we are developed? Do we all become 7 feet, 8 feet tall and broad, and all of us look like the American basketball team or something? What do we become when we become developed? Do we have a vision of or a visual of developed? This has been one of our constant questions in the last 10-15 years. This we have asked with several people, and we have tried to visualize, imagine this with several people, several others as well. Because one of the problems we have is we all accept growth as a possibility. You know, that we grow. You know, we all accept it as inevitable. But do we say what we become when we grow? Does anybody have an idea? Is anyone here got some visual of what we will become when we become developed in this country? Any visual? Please. Like I said earlier, I'm not good in lecturing unless I get some feedback from you. Anybody here? Any ideas? Just, yes, sir. Hmm. Hmm.
At a level much more higher than where.
Mm-hmm.
And that would mean that we are leading happier lives.
Very good. Anybody else? Yes, sir. The gentleman there.
Particular field or particular area of people is actually going up in the cadre.
Yes.
In India, it is more predominant actually, as that film says, rich become richer and poor become poor. As far as development, from my point is, everybody should get their basic needs.
Yes. Very good. You're saying rich become richer, poor become poorer. So there is something called inequality. How many of you read Sainath? There is this brilliant writer called Sainath who writes in the Hindu often, and he says the fastest growing phenomena in India is inequality. He says it grows much faster than GDP or any other phenomena. So, good, inequality is an issue. That's a challenge of development. Rich become richer, poor become poorer. Anybody else?
So if we have clean air,
I can't see.
pure,
Yes, sir.
clean air, pure water, and good healthy food, and everybody possesses the skills to do honest work, then we say our nation is a developed nation.
Free air, food, water, then?
Free air, pure water to drink, and fun sanitation. Third is a good healthy food, and everybody possesses the skills to lead a honest life. Then we say our nation is a developed nation.
Very good. That's much better. That's very good, very good. Everyone having skills to lead a honest life with dignity also, right? Yeah. Yes, sir. Vivek Sharma. Chapandi.
Hello. Right now, what's happening in science and technology and research in these domains in India is that, I mean, we take and develop most of the times what is going around, especially at developed countries or first world countries. So I'm actually envisaging such an India where we develop the first technology and then set an example for others to follow.
That's even better. We develop technology ahead of others.
Yeah, must be.
Yeah. So they'll catch up with us hereafter. So being ahead of others is development on technology. What about human development indicators, like what he said, pure water? In the process we pollute all our waters, is it acceptable?
Without polluting waters, this can also be done. I mean, that is the ideal.
ठीक है. So competitive technology development. Very good. Coming from this institution, you should say that, obviously.
I think developed nation will guarantee justice, as well as rather than trying to create an equal society, we try to create an equal opportunity society. I think
equitable society, you mean?
Yeah, I mean
equitable.
People are given equal opportunities.
Great. Fine. Equal opportunities for all. Anyone else?
In India, more than half of population is directly or indirectly depends on agriculture. So by 2020, the agriculture will be developed. The productivity per unit of area will be improved.
Agriculture to develop and productivity to increase. Productivity is it synonymous? Agriculture development, is it synonymous with increase in productivity? Do you think it is one is equal to other, LHS is equal to RHS? I mean, I am among engineers, I'm sure I can use this language.
Sorry.
No, when you say productivity has to increase, does it automatically increase agriculture? When you say development of agriculture, is it the same as increase in productivity?
Yeah, productivity is increased, agriculture will be more improved.
Very good. Fine. Anybody else, sir? Yeah, this gentleman in green t-shirt, yellow t-shirt here.
According to me, development would be when not only we will be self-sufficient for economy, industry, education, freedom of thought, and not only self-sufficient for that, but also we will be capable to guide or help undeveloped countries, which are considered as undeveloped countries in that respect.
Wonderful. So we help other countries apart from being self-sufficient. Let me ask you one more question. Yeah, this gentleman, I just need, when you say self-sufficient, what do you mean by that?
By telling self-sufficient means we don't need any other nation's help in developing our economy, or we'll be capable of uplifting ourselves in whatever respect.
Good, thanks.
We need honest and vision-having politicians.
Honest and visionful politicians. My God. I mean, I have never, none of what you said is utopian, but this one is marginally there. Okay.
For me, India is developed when each of us have 3 times meal per day.
Each of us have?
3 times meal, means we can have food for 3 times. That
3 meals a day?
Yeah.
You are from the World Bank or what?
Yeah, whatever, but the day that come, I will feel India is developed.
Achha. ठीक है, 3 meals. You are also from Andhra? Huh? You are from Delhi? Achha. There's a gentleman there at the back. 3 meals a day.
I feel development would be like a race for technology, but it should be like overall development. Personally, first we should have some goals, like development. Like I support the point of self-sufficiency in all the areas, rather than peaking in some of the technology and spending more on it. It should be overall development inside. Uniformity in development, maybe that would be the right way for development.
ठीक है. Any other? Yes, sir.
Right now we have split it based on caste, religion, and then language. That will be more predominant in India. If we tell it is developed, there should not be any kind of such divisions.
So if you are unified as a nation, then we will be developed. Is that what you are saying?
Sorry?
Or that will be one of the parameters of development?
When we compare with other developed nations, they are more together in terms of language, and there should not be this much, they haven't split like this much because of religion as well as
Arey,
caste.
kya kare bhai? You are from different regions and each region talks its own language. Inge vanda Tamil pesuvo. We are from which place?
Here, Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu. Nama ulla Tamil thana pesuvo. Veliyurkara vanda Tamil pesama vera thana bhashile pesuvomo.
But as a country as a whole, there is a lot of inconvenience as well as because of caste and religion. It was more.
Caste and religion, yes, of course. So you think if you overcome these and unify as a people, that will be one of the indicators of development for us. That's what you are saying, இல்லையா? இதெல்லாம் நம்ம ஓவர்கம் பண்ணிட்டோம்னா ஒரு லெவலுக்கு நம்ம டெவலப்மெண்ட் ஆயிட்டோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிக்கலாம். Correct?
Unity is the first step to move towards development.
Very good. Great. Any other? One more here. Good. I thought I had exhausted everyone. I could have passed the mic all around the room, auditorium. Yes, sir.
I think that apart from this materialistic development, some of the spiritual development in the sense of contentment and without any envy and all those things, if we'll have that kind of society in which everyone can cherish the success of others, so that will be a perfect perfect time.
You're there almost, but say something more. You have to expand it a bit more. You're not clear enough. Can
like in USA, we can say that they are developed, but there are some intrinsic problem of this materialistic development. So I am saying that if we can overcome that too.
Okay, so you're saying there should be some other kind of development. What is the development you will call it? Okay, you call it spiritual. Fine. Any other, sir? Last one. I take one more.
I will call it as a development of human being. It's not the materialistic development. First of all, we have to define what the development is. So if a person running behind the money or it is just the materialistic development he is thinking about, then he often forgets about his own development, his own inner qualities. So if I believe that if a country tries to educate their people in such a way that they develop their own qualities, they need not compare with the other countries, how much materialistic they are developed, because that will give themselves that they are developed by their own.
Good. Confident people. Very good. Any ladies here? There are very few women. No one is talking. You don't get the parliament has been agog with a whole lot of women-centric issues this parliamentary and session, and we need to have more women talking up. So I see a few women here not saying anything. Okay, so that is very good. We had several ideas of development that you have expressed of what is it to be developed. And even here, when you look at what you have said, you have all used different methods by which you can, it's like different features of what a developed society will be, right? All of us have different ideas. We say if this feature was available, let's say you develop a product, right? The product has got 10 features, right? So each one of us are defining different features of the product. If we were to look at as a society, we have to be developed as a product. Then all of you are defining different features of what that developed society or a nation can be, right? Now, our own governments over the last 6.5 decades have used many of what you have said. They have used indicators, they have used education, healthcare, they have used technological development, they have used tried to regulate so that we can become self-sufficient, they have tried to address agriculture repeatedly. All this have been done by successive governments over the last several decades. Where are we with all of this? What has happened to us? And I'll just quickly run through a few slides. To begin with, definitions of development vary. You can pick and choose which one you want to use. It could be economical, it could be environmental, infrastructure, political, cultural, as well as global obligations, right? Many of these are part of what many of you have said just now. Some of us have used economic indicators, some of us have used political indicators, some of us have used environmental indicators, and one gentleman there used the environmental aspects, saying clean water, air, and food, right? So you can define it in any of these ways. You can pick your own idea of what is poverty. Today, where are we? We have a 1.2 billion population. At 2012, again, I'm just giving you 2012 because that's the numbers we have. And our sex ratio is in the decline, which means we are going to have more and more women-centric issues coming up in the next decade or two, oppression-related issues. Somebody mentioned about the inequality. What is happening is our GDP is growing up, as you can see, but same amount of employment is not growing. Our employment creation is not at par with the growth in economy, which means for the amount of economy that is increasing, less and less people are getting employed. Again, this is to do with inequality. Somebody mentioned inequality. Who said this? Yeah, so you said people are not getting enough jobs for the same amount, which means this we see how it is happening, because some people have big paying jobs while others are really trying hard to make a living. What is poverty line? If you are regularly reading newspaper, which I hope many of you are not because of your curriculum pressures, how many of you read newspapers every day? Oh my God. Online or offline? Online. That's better. That means you use some aggregator, right? Do you pick and choose which news items you read? You use some news aggregators, or do you read everything? Does Google tell you what to read, or do you read what you want? Google tells you what to read, right? Google picks up what they want. Google will probably have an algorithm written where, if it is from inside IIT, then they will pick and choose which news items have to be scanned under their Google News, So probably they have already something like that. So you pick and choose what you read, which is very good. Because if you read and if you are following the debates on poverty line, you will find that we have several definitions of what is poverty in this country. Even the government is confused just now. And just now, all these bars you are seeing here, don't bother about the numbers. I'm just giving you this as an indicator of where we stand. We have about 8 different definitions of what is poverty, or how many people below poverty line. Okay, those bars are indicating how many people are below poverty line. And this cartoon is a very realistic thing of whether somebody is really below poverty line or above poverty line on a given day, depending upon which definition we are using to measure poverty on a given day. Supreme Court has asked us to do an assessment of how many people are below poverty line in this country, and we are still doing it. We promised the Supreme Court almost a year and a half ago that we will finish it in a reasonable time. We have not managed to do it, and everyone is confused about this. But more interestingly, what is happening with our imbalance is very, very important. Our productivity is declining. Somebody spoke about agriculture productivity. Despite increase in technology, or rather, due to increase in technology in agriculture, our productivity has gone down. 2, our farm sector has been growing down. Even worse, if you look at the secondary sector, that is the one in the center, you would see that the employment is going down for the production it is giving. This is our production sector. And of course, service sector, like all of you know, most of you end up going for the service sector eventually once you finish your graduation here. It's been booming for the last decade and a half. Of course, if you know what has been going on with the IT sector, if you have been following the dialogue and discussions recently, it is also going into a bit of a freeze and slowdown just now. All of the IT companies are talking about freezing and cutting down employment. HCL and all those people who are given jobs were up in arms recently, shouting slogans on the roadside, and all those things happen. What's been going on? Yeah, one of the most interesting things is, which is the best paid pay hike in India has been the agricultural labor. Agricultural labor has found 108% or 106% in Andhra Pradesh, 84%. They've been going really gaga with increase in pay scale. However, it doesn't promise them dignity. The dignity is not happening. How many of you are aware of 100-day employment guarantee scheme, Government of India? Some of you are aware of it. Very good. So this is a scheme by which Government of India is providing people with about 100 rupees or 113 rupees, as the case may be. Just today, the Government of Tamil Nadu in the budget has increased it, I think, about 120 odd rupees. I just briefly saw that the government has announced some news is appearing. It is ensured that there is an increase in terms of the amount laborers get paid. But what it has also done is it is ensured that no farm labor is available for farming any longer. To a large extent, it is happening in our rural sector, and it is having a cascading effect in the way agriculture is being pursued in most parts of India. Any of you from farming families here who still are doing active farming? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, your parents are pursuing farming still, despite paying your fees for IIT? Yeah? Oh, very good. Most part of Erode. Anybody from Erode area here? Erode, Satyamangalam, Coimbatore, that belt? That belt is very interesting. In Tamil Nadu, there is a place, West Tamil Nadu, called Erode, where most parents who are doing agriculture have sold their lands to engineering colleges. That place has got the largest number of engineering colleges in Tamil Nadu. So what has happened is they sold their land and they took a lot of money. And the money they spent again to enroll their children into the engineering colleges. Okay? So now the land is not there for them to do agriculture. The son is not there to do agriculture. And most of them are now reduced to, you'll probably see them soon coming up in Velachery in some flats or something, when the children take up IIT jobs in Chennai. So this is what is happening in the name of development in some parts of Tamil Nadu. The other thing is the informal sector. Yeah, if you look at the formal and informal sector, please indulge me with all these graphs. Only 2 more slides. I'm just giving you a backdrop of what our pursuit of a certain idea of development is done to us, right? So I will not take much longer with this. Basically what is done is our formal sector actually employs a very low number of people. Majority of India still is employed in the informal sector, which means that which is not in the government, not in the corporate, right? So almost 7% is only employed. The rest of them are all in informal sector. And what is going on is, slowly, our informal sector people have been rendered irrelevant in the production sector. They are all being pushed more into trading. To give you an example, some of you who come from the villages, if you had been in your village about 10 years back, you would have seen a lot of productive activity going on. People will produce something small, a pot here, a food item there that's sold in the shops, etc. Now most of them are selling recharge cards. Most villages you go, you will find most of the people who were producing something or other, or who had the skill, the capacity, the knowledge to produce something, are being made to be salesmen of a large company about whom they don't know anything. And an entire generation is losing a knowledge of how to produce. This is what is happening with our economy. So overall, our non-farm sector, so-called the non-farm sector, is completely going down, and of course increase in urbanization. I don't have to tell you, many of you who have been outside this campus and seen how Chennai has changed. How many of you final year students here? A few, yeah. So if you step out of the campus from the first year to now, this last 4 years, you would have seen the difference of what urbanization has done to Chennai. That will give you an idea. In this dismal picture, there is one statistic that interested me a lot, and that is what I want to concentrate on in my presentation. All this I am giving you because this idea of development... Wow, something is strange. Whenever I lean, I think it gives you a funny noise. Anyway, I should try not to lean. This idea of development that we have pursued seems to have isolated a few people, seems to have made the development very polarized, seems to have rendered our informal sector very vulnerable, seems to have deprived our capacities to be productive marginalized. Yet, there is something very interesting here. Most of our people, when the government did a rural skill mapping, they found that majority of our people learn their skills through traditional means and not through any modern institution. It's a very interesting statistic. I just want to leave it there and leave this thought with you. Most of what we talk about development so far comes out of a certain imagination of what is it that we will be when we are developed. When we will be developed, we will be talking in English. When we will be developed, we will all live in urban areas. We will have a lot more amenities. We will probably be flying to Europe and America often. We will probably be having a lot more bank balance. These are, to a large extent, our ideas that has crowded our idea of the pursuit of development. All right? But in the process, what we find today is it is enslaving most of our people. In North, when we sit and talk to some of the villagers, what they say is, जब लड़का पढ़ा लिखा होता है तो वो गांव से शहर जाता है और जो शहर में है वो विदेश जाता है. Right? If I have to translate that, how many of you know Hindi? Understand Hindi here? Most of you do. Good. So, anybody from Tamil Nadu who doesn't understand Hindi? One person. Okay. உங்களுக்காக I will translate. நம்ம ஊரில் நார்த்தில் எல்லாம் என்ன சொல்கிறாங்கன்னா, படிக்க எடுக்கிறது தெரிஞ்சிருச்சுன்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்ம ஊரில் கன்னியாகுமரியிலும் அதே தான் சொல்கிறாங்க. படிக்க எழுந்து தெரிஞ்சுன்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் என் பிள்ளைங்க வந்து கடலில் மீன் பிடிக்க போக மாட்டாங்க அப்படின்வாங்க. கன்னியாகுமரி பக்கத்தில். நீங்கள் எந்த ஊர்? காரைக்குடி. உங்கள் ஊரில் முதல் நாள்லேருந்து முன்னாடியிலேருந்து எல்லாம் வெளியூர் போயிட்டுருக்குறாங்க. But most places what they say is when ladka pada likha ho jata hai, when people start studying, they do not stay in the village any longer. From village it takes you to the town, from town to city, from city abroad. Our system of education or the imagination of what is it to be educated, employed, life seems to be outward rather than inward. Now, why so? Now, I started in the development sector about 15 years back, after being in a corporate, like most of you have, with all these questions and the same ideas as development. And then I found that, no, there is something wrong here. My understanding is wrong. Because there is an imagination that I do not have. My imagination and my visual is being articulated in language and in imagery that is completely alien to my idea of development. So what can it be? What if we look at, let us say, traditional institutions? How do we define wealth in this country? How do we define time and space in this country? How do we define how wealth is managed? And how do we define we govern ourselves? Much of my own understanding in any of these has been based upon interacting with ordinary people and through them gaining some understanding. And I would like to tell you this through a few anecdotes and stories. But first this. Many of our languages You know, India is one of the most language diverse part of the world. Somebody said unity among languages we do not have. The diversity of language in our country, there are languages which do not have slang. Can you believe that? There are tribal languages that do not have slang in them. Because in most of us, when we go and learn a language in urban centers, the first thing they teach you is how to cuss, right? How to abuse in the language. First thing they come to Tamil Nadu, Chennai, first thing they learn is how to negotiate with the auto wala. So they'll tell you what are all the terms you should do to negotiate with the auto wala, right? That is what you learn. You know, I'm surprised that nobody's thought of starting an online e-course or tutorial on how to negotiate with Chennai auto drivers. It should have been done by now, because that is one of the toughest things to do. They say after the New York cab driver, the toughest person to handle is a Chennai auto driver. So now this is something that we learn, but then our languages. If I were to ask all of you for a moment to express what is development in your own native language. Forget about what you said about development. What is the equivalent of development in Indian languages? You can say it in any language. Don't translate. Just say what is your understanding of development in your own language. Yes, sir. Huh? Abhyudayam. Which language is that? Telugu. What does it mean? Translate it in English. First you say it in Telugu, then you translate it into English. What is the equivalent in English?
Equivalent of development. So
No. I want you to say, okay, fine, Abhyudayam. Okay, fine. Next. Anybody else? Huh?
Abhivruddhi or
Abhivruddhi. Abhivruddhi. Abhivruddhi is a Sanskrit term.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Vruddhi.
Vriddhi.
Vruddhi is what?
Vriddhi is growth.
Vruddhi is to grow. Abhivruddhi means? Huh? Sustainable growth. Okay, straight away. First language, you don't have an equivalent term in English. You have to use sustainable growth. Okay, next. Any other language? Abhivruddhi. Good. Pragati. It's an interesting word. What does pragati mean?
Pragati.
What does pragati mean?
Pragati means to have pragat. Pragat means
Swami, these Sanskrit terms I'm going to ask for help. Huh?
Pra plus gati, so I don't know exactly how.
How would you say, Swamiji, pragati? Speed. Pragati is speed. Okay. Anybody else? Progress. Okay, progress. Munnetram. Munnetram is progress. Munnetram is in a queue, na munnerren. Munnerren. Munnerikondirkiren is like I am going advancing in the queue. Munnerudal is advancement. Tamil neenga development enna solveenga? Valarchi is growth. Correct? So Tamil is one language you cannot fool me in. I understand it much better than most of you probably. So, any other language you can tell me? Yes, sir.
Tanniraivu.
Tanniraivu. Interesting word. English, translate into English?
Self-sufficient.
Tanniraivu.
Yeah, Tanniraivu in Tamil. In English, self-sufficient.
Tanniraivu. Tanniraivu and self-sufficiency. Very good. Anybody else? Huh? Kannada. What does it mean? Growth. Very good. Unnati. 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 What does it mean? Unnati is unnatam. That is means to elevate. Unnati is to elevate, right? That's a higher state of consciousness. It's a different meaning, which is good. Anybody else? Any other definition? Uddhar. Uddharana. Uddhar is heavy word. Swamiji, what does uddhar mean?
Uddhar means to, if somebody has fallen down, you have to take him up.
It is to raise.
Raise, huh?
To save. Okay. Okay, I'll ask you a simple question. How do you say I'm hungry in your native language? In Telugu? నాకు ఆకలి వేస్తుంది. వెనక పసికిదు. This is the beginning of understanding. In English, you say, I am hungry. In Indian languages, you say, నాకు ఆకలి వేస్తుంది. I am not getting hungry. Hunger is happening to me. In all Indian languages, मुझे नींद आ रही है, मेरे को भूख लग रही है, right? You are not the center in Indian language. So to say I develop is very difficult in Indian languages. Development, most of us think in English. When we start talking in our own native languages, होना, in our Indian languages we say होना, कुछ गुजरता है मेरे पे, ये मेरे पे होता है, something happens on me. I don't become something. I am this permanent, omniscient, omnipotent self on which several phenomena occur to me. Now this is a very unique thing in Indian languages. You find that when we start defining things in our own languages, to begin with, there is a shift in our mind. We do not have a clear enough term for development, but we have so many terms which cannot be defined in even a single full sentence in English. Correct? Valarchi we use, but Valarchi is growth. Okay? But we have many other changes or many other things that we can describe in our languages, which we can lose if we only try not to use those languages. Anyway, we'll just see some of them. Ravindra Sharma, Adilabad, is a gentleman whom I will talk about a bit later. We have a history of agriculture in this country that goes back a civilization of 4,000 years. Our practice of agriculture dates back to Rig Veda time. We have agriculture from Chola's time. We have agriculture since time immemorial. We have spoken of, Tolkappiyam talks about even our dry farming, dryland agriculture. Right? There are so many mentions about agriculture in our scriptures, in popular medium. But if you go to agriculture university, okay, there is a, many of you have had an opportunity to understand, go interact with agriculture university. If you have not, please do a Google search on agronomy curriculum. In a subject called agronomy in Indian agriculture universities, they teach history of agriculture in India. It starts in 1780. Seriously, I mean it. Okay? A country and a civilization that has learned agriculture and practiced agriculture for several centuries teaches agriculture as though it invented agriculture 200 years ago. That's a reality. We have cut-pasted, we are a great country for cut-paste work. We have cut-pasted the curriculum from American university. They had land grant university in the US. We established our agriculture universities similar to the same universities. And all our curriculum is something is wrong with this. All our curriculum is also based upon their curriculum. They say agriculture started 1780. We also say agriculture started 1780. And that by itself defines a story. And what is the story? The story is agriculture, as we understand in this country, is largely as part of the culture of the people. So, I will start with something else, but just to give you an idea, even in some of the, I'll start with this. I'll start with how we define our landforms. Some time ago, some of us were looking for definitions on bioregion. If you understand what is a bioregion, we have landmass divided into different regions. They are divided on geological basis, geographical basis, hydrological basis, right? Some of you, anybody from ocean department? No. Acha, so you have people. Do you do geology also, partly? Partly, very minimum. So rest of you probably don't get to do much of this, right? So you define landmass in different forms. Now, when you define landmass in several forms like this, like in geography, etc., do you define it along with the people in it? When you do geology, do you also look at people there? No. So, this is a problem we had. We were looking at development of a people, like some of you mentioned about self-sufficiency, right? If you were to define self-sufficiency, you need to look at what is it that is available on a given landmass. We are looking at models, scientific models. All of us are educated in science, unfortunately. So we're looking at scientific models. Then we figured out that the Western science has got nothing to offer. Nothing. No Western science can give you any model by which you can define people living in a landmass as people and the land together. Then after searching for a long time, I encountered in a European university something called indigenous ecological traditions. And surprise, I found they use a method that is very unique to Tamil Nadu. And this is not being taught in any university in Tamil Nadu, for instance. In Tamil Nadu, you must know, you are from Tamil Nadu. Which branch you said? Huh? Karekudi. Can you read Tamil? You can read Tamil. Very good. So can you read what is in this? Have you read this in school? What does it mean? Yeah. This is a beautiful definition of landmass and the people and the relationship between landmass and people. We say Kurinji. Kurinji means hill and the people who live in the hilly terrain. The culture of the people and what integrates them. For instance, when they measure land in a hilly terrain, they say so many veli. Veli means you normally in a hilly terrain, you put a fence around your land, right? Why? Because you need to protect it from the forest animals. So land is measured as veli in a hilly terrain. Whereas if you go into Neidal, which is a coastal part, land is measured differently. Why? Because the measurement of land is specific to the land mass and people's relationship to it. Kurinji, Mullai. Mullai is the forest land. Marudam is to do with agriculture. Neidal is to do with the coastal part. And the beauty is, when they say the fifth one is Palai, is the fifth landmass that they define, and it is not even defined as a space. It is defined as a time. They say when your forest and hilly terrain is ignored, or when the relationship between the humans and the landmass is fractured, then that land becomes Palai or desert. Palai is normally equated to desert. This particular tradition of defining people, their landmass, and the literature, Tamil literature is full of this definition. Tamil literature is full of people. What do people in hilly terrain, what do people in Kurunji live like? What is life like? What do they use? What is their language? What is the vessels they use? What is the food they eat? Who is their god? What is the song they sing? What are the flowers they use? Everything. It defines life as a whole in this terrain. Unfortunately, today, the Thinai concept is not taught in any university in Tamil Nadu. Why? Because all of us learn about our landmass in English. We're all learning geography. In geography, we divide only, what do we learn? We learn political division, right? How many states, how many districts, each district, what is being mined, right? How much is being eroded from the soil, how many rivers are there so that we can build dams, so we make electricity, deprive land, we keep fighting with Karnataka. Why? Because Karnataka wants to make more electricity than Tamil Nadu wants. It's not about water, it is about who can dam it and who can make electricity out of it, right? So primarily we are talking about resources for the purpose of their deprivation. When you talk about this as Kurinji, Mullai, Marudam and Neidal, you don't talk about them as resources that need to be deprived for your economic benefit. You talk about relationships. Because you talk in your native tongue. You're not talking development then. You're talking about soil as though soil matters. Soil is a living organism. In most of Tamil Nadu, you might know, I think it is also there in Karnataka and Andhra, most of the water bodies are given a name, right? Which part are you from? You? Yeah. Andhra. Which part of Andhra? Telangana. That means you come all the way from Telangana. Very good. So, how do you travel to come to IIT? Train. How many rivers does your train come past? Huh? Achha, you must at least pass Krishna. You don't come past Krishna, you come past Godavari. No, not Godavari. You will be coming only via Krishna. Only Nellore you will cross Krishna, right? No, only one. Do you throw money when you cross the river? Did they teach you when you were young that you throw money? People throw money. How many of you have seen this? All of you have seen this. Wonderful. Why? Why do you throw money when you cross the river? Yeah, you could throw coin. You don't throw notes, obviously. Notes will get wet. Coins are easy to collect. That's why you throw coins. Why do you throw coins? Copper? I can't hear you.
Copper purifies water.
Copper purifies water. Achha, this metallurgy knowledge came to you after you came to IIT or before you itself? Huh? Who told you this? This is the problem of scientific knowledge. We get into purification of everything and anything in the world. You threw money into the river because the river is sacred. It is your offering to the river. Every hill when you climb, anywhere in the Ghats, in any town, when the Ghats, I don't know how many of you noticed, as the bus climbs the Ghat, the bus driver will stop. There will be one small god there. He will go offer money. Somebody, the cleaner at least will go offer money. Right? நீங்க காரைக்குறிச்சி போவீங்கல்ல பிரைவேட் பஸ்ல போயிருக்கீங்களா இங்கிருந்து நம்ம இதை தாண்டும் போது ஒரு தூக்கி ஒரு தேங்காய் உடைச்சிட்டு போவாங்க தெரியுமா எங்க தாம்பரம் தாண்டும் போது கரெக்ட் where? So when you cross any place, the idea is for us rivers are not meant to be just dammed. They are sacred. The sanctity we attach is when we cross the river, we seek their permission by making an offering. Perhaps early on, when you went by boat, you made it into a ritual. You offered a coin, you offered something and said, please take me to the other end. Cooperate with me when I cross you over to reach the other end. By and by, what we have done to it is, we have just remembered to throw the coin. And now scientific knowledge has come. So we think of some other explanation for it to satisfy ourselves. Copper they must have used because copper purifies water. And go on. Right? Thing is, rituals. This is what Swamiji talks about, kitchen religion. You must have read Swami Vivekananda. We have reduced religion to kitchen religion. Because we remember the ritual, we forget the purpose of the ritual. What was the purpose? The purpose was the sacredness, the sanctity attached to everything. If you have sanctity attached to your waterways, you will not... there is this brilliant thing in Sanskrit. They say, Jalam dharyena viryasi. water retains its virium when it flows. Virium, you understand? Virium is potency, right? So, we in Tamil Nadu have had not dams, but we had small check dams with which we didn't control the flow of water during its full flow. We controlled it when there is a flood. When it overflowed, this entire area, which is called Chennai today, had some of the best water bodies. You might be sitting on one right now. We had a brilliant method of using gravitational force by which water bodies, when it overflows, you took it in a channel and had another water body which filled up during floods alone. And then you used it for people's purpose. Now, this is not engineering, this is also engineering. But what we did, we had a sacredness attached to it, right? Now what has happened is we all start thinking in English. And in thinking in English, we have forgotten the purpose of some of our rituals. Same with our resources. Because now we talk about natural resource management, right? If you read Swami Ranganathananda, he will say, it's not human resource management, it is human potential management. According to Vedanta, we talk about human potential, right? We look at how do you manifest the potential that is inherent in you. Not just you, all the resources. When there is a sanctity attached to something, we didn't think of throwing garbage into our waterways. I have spoken to people who have gone around the entire Ganga, parikrama. They do a parikrama on the Ganges. And they say that there is no village on the banks of the Ganga that throws its sewage into the river. There is no town that does not do so. When we move from village to town, with our knowledge in English, we are only looking for a place to throw our garbage. So in Benares, what we call Ganga Ji, in Benares nobody calls Ganga as river Ganga. But in geography, we learn it as one of the several rivers of India, river Ganges, or dot Ganges. That is what we write when we do our maps, right? Geography map, how many of you did in your school, right? Or Ganges, or Narmada, or Kaveri, right? That's what we do. That's how our maps teach us. Does it teach us anything more? No. What are the rivers used for? Rivers are used for generating electricity. People also use it for irrigation. Then, my great grandmother went and died on the banks of Ganges. Do you learn that? Why? Because it is considered in my country, to die in the banks of Ganges is considered the holiest thing in the world. Do you read anything about it anywhere at all? It is not there. This is the beginning of our understanding, and Thinai is one such concept in Tamil Nadu that we have forgotten to learn. We have forgotten to teach. Why? Because culture we don't learn as part of our education. Science and technology has replaced it. This next thing is dhan, wealth. Often we say wealth is what we call the end or the key feature of economic development. Everybody should have money. Interestingly, our concept of dhan was much varied and much more diverse, which means it was very easy for people to be satisfied. I spoke about Ravindra Sharma. He is an intellectual, one of the best intellectuals I have met. And he makes pots in Adilabad, in Telangana. In Adilabad, Ravindra Sharma, they call him Guruji. He makes pots during one side of the year when the air and the weather is good for making pots. Other times he works in stone, other times he works on wood, sometimes he works on metal. He works in different seasons, he works on different material. Because he says, different seasons you can work on different materials. And Guruji always says this, he points out, our people had cattle, and cattle was done. Our shepherds had sheep, sheep was done. Our people had a lot of capacity to make pots, that was also done. Then one day there was this man who walked in with a lot of paper. He gave some paper to the man who had cows, a few lesser paper to the man who had goat, and even lesser paper to a man who made pots. And he kept more paper than all of us. Then he told us we are only as valuable as the paper we have. So what happened? We unified the idea of dhan, right? This is what currency economy did to us. And yesterday I was having an interesting discussion with somebody from the Rural Development Ministry, Tamil Nadu government, and I was telling him, once we replace this in the mind, then straight away, who controls our currency? Banks. Who controls the money flow in currency money flow? Where is the biggest manipulation happening? Stock market, right? Your market is where the biggest manipulation is happening. And all our markets are wedded to whose market? New York Stock Exchange, right? So who controls your economy? The moment you get into that, you get into somebody else's economy. You are part of becoming somebody else's economy just by this one shift in terms of how you value yourself. But even more dangerous for the rural people. I had a friend of mine called Lourdes. Lourdes often calls me randomly. He works in villages. One day he called me and he said, Ram sir, I have a big doubt. I said, what? He said, you know what? There's this woman in the village. She's got nobody. None of her sons or daughters are in the village. She generally does work in other people's houses, and she was picking stones from rice. So I went, and she's absolutely poor. So I asked her, look, you are below poverty line. And she said, what does it mean? I told her, no, you don't have an earning. You don't have a job. She said, yeah, I don't have a job. Then I told her, so we will develop you, we'll bring you from BPL to APL. From below poverty line, we'll take you to above poverty line. So he said, we will do that to you. So this thing we will work. And she said, but I'm happy. And I got my doubt. If she's happy, do we still call her BPL? Big conflict. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have anybody. But she's happy. I said, why is she happy? He said, the village community takes care of me. She said, the community takes care of me. She's helping the community in some work or another. So she's happy. So now, Lourdes' biggest problem is, he said, before we came here, she didn't know BPL. Now we have come here, we have declared her BPL. She knows what is BPL. Are we doing good service to her? Or are we confusing her? I said, Lourdes, you have reached somewhere now. Hold the thought, get out of the village now. Think about it a bit more. No, something will happen to you. She is anyway happy. You don't have to disturb her now. Thing is, this thing of dhan is such a diverse idea of wealth we have. Somebody with valor is wealth. Somebody with knowledge is wealth. We have unified this idea of wealth, and by measuring everyone's wealth as a development indicator, how much bank balance you have, we have destroyed the capacities of our people to value themselves in such diverse ways. In the process, we have destroyed the self-image of a large amount of our people. This is what development of this kind has done to us. About food and how our farmers view food. We have this brilliant Thirukural which says, Pagatundu Palluyir Ombudal Nuror Vaguthavattul Ellam Thalai. What it means? It says, grow in plenty, share it with everybody, all life forms, to nurture them. And this is the best that has been said by those who wrote before us. It says that what has been written up earlier, the best of what has been written is the conservation of diversity of all life forms, the nurturing of diversity of all life forms by sharing food. In Sanskrit, Taittiriya Upanishad, we say, Annam Bahu Kurvita Tatvrutam, we say. To make food available in plenty and share with others is one of the nishtas that has been prescribed to human beings. Right? Now, you reduce this, what do you have instead? We have food security. I don't know how many of you have read. Yesterday, a food security bill was passed in the parliament. And now parliament has declared that every family below poverty line will get 35 kilos of rice. But that will only be available for about 45% of this country. The remaining will have only 5 kilos of rice per capita. You know what is the per capita rice available for each family in Tamil Nadu? In about 120 years ago, when we didn't have any green revolution in this country, was way ahead of this, because our per capita production, per hectare production was close to 20 tons, which is not possible even with the best of the chemical agriculture that we are practicing today in this country. That is why many of us, when we talk about organic farming, people say, wow, how do you say organic farming? Can it feed the world? Of course it was. It was feeding the world before chemical agriculture happened in this world. It was feeding, not only it was feeding, the Tanjavur Maharaja had chatrams all the way from Tanjore all the way to Benares. Every 100 kilometers he had a chatram. And every chatram was provided for. Our own historical record says this. It says that till the British came around, right? Every chatram had provided with food supply from the granary in Tanjore year after year after year. And when the British took over, one of the first things that they did was to destroy the system of making available food in plenty for all. In Mysore, the Diwan was advised and he was made to cut down the amount of food available that was distributed freely for our people by 75% within the first year of the British takeover. That is what we did. Why? Because annam bahukurvita tat vritam doesn't translate well in English. It's a value system that is unknown. Because charity there is not only philanthropy. Here it is sharing. Bahukurvita. You give it because you have to. You share it because it is an extension of yourself. You don't look at it as giving to somebody else. Why? Because everything happens to you. Hona is our culture. It is not me doing anything. I don't donate. Right? We don't say I donate this in our own languages. We say whatever we have we share. That is what we do in our culture. So, what is the, how does it translate into farming, into farmers' knowledge? There is this beautiful saying in Tamil. I again put it in Tamil, but I have also given it in English. They say that Adi Katukku, Nadumatuku, Nuni Veetukku. Again, now I am coming to agriculture technology. Somebody spoke about technology. Who spoke about agriculture technology growth? And productivity and yield. Yes, sir. We have had consistent increase in productivity last so many years, despite decreasing land in agriculture. But despite that, we still have people who are hungry in this country. Why? Because this concept we have forgotten. Our soil is degrading. Adi Katukku, Nadu Matukku, Nuni Veetukku was a very simple Tamil kahavat, proverb that is being used in the native language among farmers. It is even prevalent today. What do they mean? It means the root is left in the soil for enriching the soil. The stem in between, Nadu, is used to feed the cattle, to conserve the cattle. The top portion, the grain, is what is brought into the house, into your granary as a grain for your nourishment. Right? Look at this. This is what is among the ordinary people. Right? You have at the literary level, you have something called Pagutundu Pallu Irombudal. That is in the Tirukkural. Right? If you look at literature, it says Annam Bahukurvita Tatvritam. And among ordinary people, among farmers, you have this beautiful proverb. Right? And then it is brought into your customs like Malapari and other things, seed festivals that are practiced among farmers even today. But when we do not think of agriculture in our own language, okay, This adhikataka is forgotten. So, soil as a living being. Like I said earlier, river as a living being when you attach sanctity to it. Soil as a living being when you attach sanctity to it is forgotten. So what do? We think of productivity. And what does it mean? Pump as much chemicals as possible as fertilizers. Because soil is a resource for you to produce. It is your food factory. Your chemical that goes in, the water that goes in, the seeds that go in, everything is an input towards producing food, that is an output. Cattle, if you can improve on its efficiency, improve it. Okay? So, remove cattle, bring tractor. Then what happens? Nadu matukku, right? The in-between stem is meant for the cattle. Now you don't have cattle, what is the need for the stem? Okay, develop dwarf varieties. But dwarf varieties have additional problems. They don't have enough proteins. It doesn't matter. Let's modify the genes. We have technology. So put proteins into the grain now. Why? Because we have more scientists with us who all have to be employed now. But they were already employed as farmers, no? Why the heck do you want to convert them with so much of money being spent and spoil the soil in the process, spoil the water? Because the more salt you put into the water, it's the same logic, no? The more fertilizer you feed into the soil, like all of us, you take more salt, you drink more water, right? You put more salt, fertilizer into water, you have to put more water into it also, right? So you put more salt and more water into the soil, so you have to have more larger irrigation projects. Why? Because your soil needs more water now. So keep giving water into it, keep giving more fertilizer. And if there is somebody says, oh my God, there is pesticide residue in food now. What do you mean by pesticide residue in food? Okay, fine. Let's see, we will engineer the crop in such a way that we don't have to give it pesticides. What do? We put the pest resistance into the grain, modify the gene. Why? Because we have the technology now, so let's use it, no? There's something wrong when you start thinking in the direction. Why? Because you have forgotten Muru Mudal Vitteyo, they say in Divya Prabandham. Narayana is addressed as the first grain. If you only look at your grain and say it's Narayana, you will not think about genetic modification. But then grain has become one of the several resources that are input, because you have lost the idea of sanctity to any of your resources. So even when Swamiji says, right, there is a potential divine in each one of us, how can you relate to it if you have not related it to anything at all? You have lost the idea of sanctity to the soil, to the river, to the waterways, to the trees. Everything has become a resource. And then suddenly you turn around and say, oh, I look at all of you and I think all of you have some idea of divine in you. How can you think of even human beings as also being how can you attach sanctity to anything? And why? All because our imagination is crowded by an alien language, which doesn't have this idea of sanctity in the way you describe resources around you. If only you describe things around you in your own local language, there is so much more attached to it. I want to tell you a story of education. How are we doing on time? Who is the timekeeper here? If I am overshooting on time, you should warn me. Yeah? Am I overshooting on time?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll finish with this story. Okay? Then you can ask me questions. If you ask me questions and nobody answers, I'll continue. Can I tell you one story and finish? Okay. So the story is about education. Like I spoke to you about agriculture, I happen to be studying education in rural part of Tamil Nadu, in one particular place, town called Virudhunagar, where one community provides education to the entire town. And there I was studying the community's practices in providing education. So when I went there, everyone told me that you have to meet some very elderly people in the community who will be able to provide good insights. And then I met these people. They run some of the best education institutions in the state. They have close to 20 schools and colleges and all that. And he said, so I met this gentleman who was instrumental in setting up many of them. I asked him, so I was talking to him about why did they start all these educational institutions in the first place. He said, look, tell me, what is knowledge? And I couldn't answer. I just said, you tell me, sir, you know, because elderly people, you never know. You tell them anything, they will say something else, you know, so you have to be cautious. So I said, you tell me, sir. Then he said, Yeppurul, yar yarvai ketpinum, appurul, meipurul kanpadarivu. That's very clear. He gave me one first kural, Thirukural. He said, whenever you listen to anything from anybody, the capacity to discriminate and find the truth behind it, that is the purpose of knowledge. Then he said, okay, fine, then why should we set up all these educational institutions for the sake of knowledge? Then he gave me the second Thirukural. And he said, basically what he was saying was, just like you dig deeper into the soil, you get water. The water comes, seeps when you dig. So when you dig deeper into education, knowledge comes. Knowledge accumulates when you dig into yourself deeper into the process of learning. Then he said, the purpose why we started all this is because we hope that people will learn. So he gave me the third Thirukural. In 3 Thirukurals, this man could give me a vision of education, purpose of knowledge, and why knowledge is being done by his entire community in the town. I have yet to find any university vice chancellor, and I have met many, who can define a purpose of education in such clear terms. This articulation that is possible in your native language is not possible when you talk in an alien language. And the imagination that it gives you, the look at the flexibility. Tomorrow he can change his entire education system if he finds that it is not giving the students the knowledge to discriminate what is truth and what is not truth. Look at the freedom of expression there. So I'll just end with this. Similarly, there was this thing of development. We spoke to some elders. I used to work and learn from Gandhian by name Dharampal, who did a whole lot of interesting work on history. And he used to always say, if you want to understand really what is development, growth, etc., talk to farmers in India. So once we had this great idea of sustainable development workshop in a village. I had invited some elders from the village also. They all came and they sat down. It was in Tamil Nadu, rural Tamil Nadu, near Madurai. And at the end of the dialogue, this elderly villager, I asked him, can you tell me, he said, I listened to all of you talk about sustainable development, but I have my own definition. I asked him, what is your definition? Then he gave me this definition. He said, a group of people living and working together in a village with a common understanding of Irai Unarvu and Manida Neyam is sustainable development. Now, what does it mean? Common understanding of Irai Unarvu. Irai Unarvu is sanctity. Manida Neyam is understanding of interbeing, humanness. That we relate with each other at the level of human beings and we all share the sense of sanctity about everything around. For us, a group of people living together like that, that is sustainable development for me. This is understanding. Now, I haven't found any sustainable development document from any international agency be so clear in its articulation, because we have a shifting goalpost of what is development. All of us are working with that kind of a shifting goalpost. Here, in imagining something in your own native language, in your own native tongue, it gives you a flexibility, a freedom, and more importantly, it binds you back to the values and the culture that is deep-rooted within your own psyche, within your own idea of the world and the world order. So that is what I want to emphasize today in discussing this and making this short presentation. I only see 3 people leave, which means either all of you must have been put to sleep, or some of you must have been really polite to me, or many of you might have been interested in what I am saying. Any which way, thanks for the polite listening. I can take questions for a while?
Yes, we'll
okay,
just take
thank
few
you.
questions. Anybody has questions? Ask.
No questions? Oh my God. 2.
Sir, going by the talk, you've addressed the issue like we have ignored what we have learned all the time. We have forgotten our past and we are just going into something new that is not tried and tested. Is it like a quicksand where we are just going in and falling into the pit? We have no idea where we are going, and in the name of scientific development and advancement, technology.
No. I don't think we are not having any idea of where you have to going. You just have to see the American economy. You know where you're going. Excuse me. All of us know. Just go watch Americans.
That's true. I mean, in the name of materialistic development, we have ignored all the issues as what you have told.
It is not as though we didn't have material in India. See, this is the biggest problem. We end up reading this too much in this. We try to get into this dichotomy of spirituality as against materialism. A grihastha can never be without dhan in India. According to our definition, a grihastha has to have money. Nirdhan grihastha is not a concept in India, right? We were having material wealth also, but when we had wealth, we shared. When we had wealth, we were the caretakers, what Gandhiji very brilliantly articulated as trusteeship. We held it in trusteeship for the society, for the larger community. We never said what is wealth is to be shrunk into an individual enjoyment alone. That is where the shift comes. Does it answer your question? No, you didn't finish your question. I took off in between. Sorry.
What is the way forward? Like, how do we look into the future? Going by the way things are going, it's deteriorating. How do you actually come back?
It's not deteriorating. I see a lot of promise. That today about 40 of you here is good enough.
But it's not exactly good. I mean,
no, it is. No, I put it this way. Changes happen all the time. We're just around the corner from real change happening. What you see all around is this discourse. The very fact somebody like me is here talking to you today, right, is good enough a reason for us to celebrate. The very fact that some of us, for instance, I talk this language all the time. Yesterday I was talking this language to somebody inside a government office. I was not thrown out. I'm honored there. Actually, they pay me for it. Okay? The very fact that people with a different kind of knowledge or with a different kind of articulation are heard, okay, are respected in the society, is to me a very positive sign. Gandhiji said somewhere that 150 years of slavery will take at least half the time to get rid of the toxicity from our body politic. That is 75 years. We are not too far away, and the signs are already there. The signs are there that we are changing. What you saw last year happening in Ramlila Maidan in Delhi, or what you saw more recently, the spontaneous coming together of students in different parts of Tamil Nadu, to me all these are positives. It is not that we know where we are heading. It is just that we are asking the right questions. If our articulation is clear, we need to have this Chitta Shuddhi, they call it. We need to cleanse our system, this collective consciousness. If we cleanse a bit, we will arrive at the answers ourselves. We are starting to articulate the questions with a lot more clarity now. Yes, sir. Any more? How many questions can I take? 2 more? That's all. Your big boss, he's the big boss there. He says 2 more, then I take only 2 more questions. Because you need to vacate the hall, right? Otherwise they'll throw us out. Something like that. Most academic institutions have this rules that you have to get out of the place, otherwise they'll throw out. Okay.
Sir, my question is related to the irreversible loss, loss we have made to our land and resources. Like in Punjab, I have come across a report that in Punjab, most of the water, means even the groundwater, it is means very much depleted, and most of the rivers and all that, they are too much polluted.
Yeah.
So, and when we are talking about organic farming, it means with these fertilizers and this Western model of agriculture, we have done so much, so much bad thing with our soil and other things. So, will it means our farming and these traditional systems, can they compensate or can they meet the demands with the demands of the growing population? Because we need time for it. Means it will not instantly happen. We have to go back to those traditional knowledge, and it will take time to clean that poison already there in our resources. So in that so there is some gap. So how to contract this gap? How we can efficiently do it?
Yeah, we are all, this is this train approach, you know. I just got out of one train, I'm going to wait for another train. If I have to catch, in between I'm in transit. During the transit, what happens to me? What happens to you is this. If you can get rid of this at your own level, it's a beginning. Because most often than not, these questions are not impacting us, frankly. It doesn't make a difference to you or me. You and me cannot make a difference to Punjab. Punjab people will have to make a difference to themselves. But you can make a difference by not using this. One of the biggest pollutants today, and one of the biggest problems we have, is most of us don't know where this bottle goes after we use it. Most of us can carry our own water bottles like this, or water bottles like anything. But most of us don't carry our own water bottles. This, saying no to this, is the first step in rejecting the commercialization of water. Water in India is a public property, right? That is the beginning. In Punjab, rivers are being privatized. Okay. So, if you only can say no to this, and don't give it to any speaker, no, a speaker comes for 1.5 hours, no, you can do this thing. You can put this in front of your speaker, right? Why do you give this? Why do you do this in a place like IIT? This difference we can make in our lives, and we can start tomorrow, we can start today, right? Otherwise, we'll end up discussing theoretical questions of no relevance to us. We can discuss Punjab till cows come home. It will not make any difference to us. This we can make tomorrow. Anybody willing to make this change tomorrow? Good. You have to invite me again, no? I'll come and check next time. And at least this bottle shouldn't be there next time. I'll see how many of you carry their own water bottles. Huh? Very good.
This is a personal question. I feel more comfortable in asking Tamil.
I appreciate it. Please. Anybody asking in your native tongue, please do so. I mean, I understand a few Indian languages.
Actually, 1 year back, I worked in on
Why are you asking in English now? Tamil சொல்லிட்டு திரும்பி இங்கிலீஷ்ல பேசுறீங்க. காய்க்கு
ஒரு வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி நான் ஒரு ஜெர்மன் எம்என்சில வர்க் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன்.
எங்க?
பாஷ் நான் பெங்களூர் ஜெர்மன்.
சரி சொல்லுங்க.
அப்போ எனக்கு ஒரு क्वेश्चन வந்தது, நம்ம எப்படி இந்த சொசைட்டிக்கு சர்வ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம் அப்படினா என்னோட அப்போ யோசிச்சப்போ என்னோட பாசிட்டிவ் என்ன, நான் எதுக்காக வந்து எப்படி நான் ரீபே பேக் பண்ணுவேன் சொசைட்டிக்கு, எதுக்காக நான் பிறந்தேன் அப்படிங்கிறப்ப யோசிச்சப்போ என்னோட பாசிட்டிவாக நான் யோசித்தது வந்து எனக்கு டீச்சிங் நல்லா வரும், நான் வந்து ஒரு 4 பேருக்கு டீச் பண்ணுவேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்போது வந்துட்டு ஓகே நம்ம வந்து டீச்சிங் போகலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஐஐடி வர ட்ரை பண்ணால் ஒரு 3 months முன்னாடி ஜாயின் பண்ணேன். இங்கே வந்ததுக்கப்புறம் எனக்கு வந்து குழப்பமாக இருக்குது. இப்போது நான் வந்து எப்படி இதே சொசைட்டியோட அந்த சொஃபிஸ்டிகேட்டட் லைஃப் ஒரு மெட்ரோ சிட்டியில் ஒர்க் பண்ணலாமா, இல்லை வந்து என்னோடய தாத்தா வந்து ஃபார்மிங், அவர் சின்ன லெவலில் இருந்தாலும் அவர் வந்து சொசைட்டிக்கு ரீபே பண்ணிகிட்டு இருந்தார். அப்பா வந்து திரும்பி ஒரு டவுனுக்கு வந்துட்டாங்க. அந்த 22 yearsஆக வந்து எங்கள் அப்பா சொன்னது என்ன, இன்ஜினியர் ஆகணும், ஒரு பெரிய கம்பெனியில் ஜாயின் பண்ணணும், ஒர்க் பண்ணணும், அவங்க சொன்னதை வந்து கேட்டான். அதுக்கடுத்து வந்து எதுக்காக நான் வந்து இதுவானா என்ன பண்ணணுமோ அப்படின்னு யோசித்தப்போ டீச்சிங் எடுத்து இங்கே வந்துட்டேன். திரும்பி ஃபார்மிங் போகலான்னு ஒரு ஐடியா இருக்குது. இல்லை திரும்பி மெட்ரோ தான் போகணும், ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் பார்க்குறப்போ அது எப்படி வந்து நான் டிசைட் பண்ணுறது, இதுதான் எனக்கு வரும், ஸ்ட்ராங்காக இருக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறது ரொம்ப கன்ஃபியூஷனாக இருக்குது டு டேக் அந்த டெசிஷன் எடுக்கிறது. ஐ நீட் மோர் உங்களோட எக்ஸ்பர்டைஸ் வேணும்.
இந்த விஷயத்தில் யாருக்கும் ஆலோசனை கொடுக்க முடியாது, நீங்களே தான் முடிவு செய்யணும். ஆனால் ஒன்றே ஒன்று சொல்கிறேன், நீங்கள் வந்து எந்த முடிவு எடுத்தாலும் உங்களுக்கு எது வந்து சந்தோஷம் கொடுக்குது அந்த முடிவு எடுங்க. நீங்கள் கல்வியும் எடுக்கலாம், கல்வி மற்ற பேருக்கு சொல்லிக் கொடுக்கறது தமிழ்நாட்டில் பல பேர் பண்ணிகிட்ருக்குறாங்க. ஆனால் சொல்லிக் கொடுக்குற திறமை உங்ககிட்ட இருக்குதான்னு நீங்கள் முதல்ல பார்த்துக்கணும். விவசாயம் செய்கிறீங்கன்னா அதுக்கு நிறைய கற்றுக்க வேண்டியது இருக்கும். இன்னி தேதிக்கு விவசாயம் மதிக்கிற ரொம்ப குறைச்சல் தமிழ்நாட்டில். கல்யாணம் ஆயிடுச்சா உங்களுக்கு, பொண்ணு கொடுக்க மாட்டாங்க, புரிஞ்சா? அதனால் பொண்ணுக்கு கல்யாணம் கட்ட வரைக்குமாவது விவசாயம் செய்யாதீங்க, அதுக்கப்புறம் பண்ணுங்கள். Achha, I'm just giving you a very practical idea. And if you're married, nobody, I mean, if you're a farmer, nobody will give you a wife. In Tamil Nadu at least, you know. And Andhra is different. Rayalaseema, if you have 150 acres, Konaseema, they will get you married. And that is different story altogether, because they'll convert you into a farmer eventually. You can be IIT, you can be MBA from any university, it doesn't matter. They'll convert you into a farmer eventually. Tamil Nadu அப்படி கிடையாது. தமிழ்நாட்டில் வந்து எப்படின்னா நீங்கள் வந்து இன்னி தேதிக்கு அதுதான் நிதர்சனம், அதுதான். ஆனால் ஒன்று இன்னி தேதிக்கு பி வெரி கிளியர் வெதர் யூ வாண்ட் டு பி த சேஞ்ச். இன்றைக்கி தமிழ்நாட்டில் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்ச அட்லீஸ்ட் 150-200 பேர் தான் இருக்கிறாங்க. ஐடி கம்பெனிகளில், பெரிய பெரிய கம்பெனிகளில் 10 வருஷம் 5 வருஷம் 2 வருஷம் வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு விட்டுட்டு போய் விவசாயம் செஞ்சுட்டு சந்தோஷமாக இருக்காங்க. எல்லாத்தையும் விட்டுட்டு போய் நான் விவசாயம் செய்கிறேன், இயற்கை விவசாயம் செய்கிறேன், இயற்கை விவசாயம் செய்கிறதன் மூலமாக நான் சந்தோஷம் அடைகிறேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறவங்களுடைய எண்ணிக்கை அதிகரிச்சிட்ருக்குது, நாளுக்கு நாள் அதிகரிக்குது. ஏன்னா அதில் ஒரு சந்தோஷம் கிடையாது, இதில் அது கிடைக்குது. ஏன்னா நீங்கள் உழுதுண்டு வாழ்வார்னு சொன்னோம். நீங்கள் கொஞ்சம் நீங்கள் கொஞ்சம் விவசாயம் செஞ்சாலும் நீங்கள் இருக்கிற ப்ரொடியூஸ் நீங்கள் மற்ற பேருக்கு பகிர்ந்துக்கிறீங்க, அதன் மூலமாக ஒரு சந்தோஷம் கிடைக்குது. விவசாயம் ஒருத்தனால தான் உலகத்திலேயே வர்றவங்க எல்லாருக்கும் எதாவது கொடுக்க முடியும். நீங்கள் நகரத்தில் இருந்துட்டு கொடுக்க முடியாது. நீங்கள் எவ்வளோ சம்பாதிச்சாலும் நீங்கள் சம்பாதிச்சுட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் 2 டீச்சரை வர நீங்கள் ஸ்பான்சர் பண்ணலாமே தவிர உங்களுக்கு அந்த நேரம் கிடைக்காது நீங்களே சொல்லிக் கொடுக்கணும்னு. ஸோ நீங்கள் எது வேணால் எடுக்கலாம், அதற்கான ரோல் மாடல்ஸ் யாருன்னு பாருங்கள், அவங்கள நேரில் சந்திங்க. நிறைய பேர் இருக்கிறாங்க நமக்கு நண்பர்கள், உங்களுக்கு வேணும் தனியாக அப்புறம் நீங்கள் பேசுங்க, I can give you some references. You can meet them, understand, and then you can jump in.
Sir, one question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually I come from a state of Kerala, and there now what you were telling, the rural and urban divide is now almost vanished, because it is no more urban area and less urban area. And in future, that is what is going to happen in Tamil Nadu also. Of course, because of the Tamil Nadu landmass is very big, it is going to take some more time.
But Tamil Nadu will continue to produce its own food. Kerala doesn't produce any food for themselves any longer.
No, that is true. That is true. But the Kerala economy has been dependent on
Kerala economy is Kerala budget order 3 மடங்கு உங்களுக்கு you get only foreign remittance, no?
No. So there it was producing more rubber, more tea. No, the produce of Kerala.
You can't eat rubber.
No, but no, it's a commodity that can be exchanged.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the hilly terrains of Kerala cannot produce paddy. Even ancestral times and even today, only some areas in belts like Palakkad can produce paddy. So that is why the hilly terrains were used for producing other commodities. Yes. Like now the thing is, most important thing is, it is the change that brings happiness.
What change?
A rural person, when he comes to Chennai to study in a university, it brings happiness in him.
To whom?
To that person, that particular person.
How long?
And,
How long?
And the same person, after 30 years of work in Chennai in a company and other things, he goes back to his village or the town, again it brings him more happiness. So this is a cycle, sir. This is happening. And for you also, I can tell you, you change into a businessman, definitely it will give you happiness. And give employment to others, it will bring happiness to you. More happiness than what you have today.
Thank you.
Sir, one question I will ask is that what are you doing exactly at Samanware? And I also got to know that you are doing some farming. So can you just elaborate something about it?
I am learning agriculture. Currently, I am advising the state government, State Rural Livelihood Mission. I am a consultant for the State Rural Livelihood Mission, Tamil Nadu government. I am also part of the State Planning Commission. I have been working with the state government in rural livelihood. And what our friend just now advised me to do, I am doing that already. But I am doing it by keeping people in the village and doing agriculture in a successful manner where they can earn money, make their food, don't come to urban area and live the undignified life and aesthetic life that urban lifestyle brings to you. In Kerala, he can afford to say that because they still have fresh air. They have enough plants around themselves. They live in the shadow of the Western Ghats. Whereas the dry land in Tamil Nadu doesn't permit you that. Most of us living in the urban jungle called Chennai don't have any trees around us, right? So it doesn't give you any happiness. I happen to do a bit of farming, just now learning in a dryland part of Tamil Nadu, near Salem in Kalvarayan Hills. I'm learning still. I'm doing agriculture there. Other times I come and do this thing of rural livelihood mission, helping them with agriculture-based activity. Just now we have worked on something that will eventually impact close to about 25,000 farmers, provide them organic farming-based initiatives across Tamil Nadu in about 8 districts of Tamil Nadu. Eventually it will convert close to about 20,000 acres land into sustainable agriculture practicing area. This has been some of the area in which I have been operating and working on. But Samanvaya, basically we are a very small team. We are just looking at the bridging the gap between academic, activist and development work. We kind of keep navigating between the three. So 2 months back I was in JNU in Delhi presenting an academic paper, and last month I was in an intellectual gathering in Hyderabad, and rest of the time I'm doing farming, rest of the time I'm doing work here with the state government. I want to eventually be in the village, not in the city, and I want to be there doing agriculture. No. 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 I am very happy when I am in the farm. That requires a longer discussion. No. You are saying I derive happiness because of what I do, not because of where I am. You are trying to extrapolate that into where I am. Right? Not the kind of change you're talking about. Anyway, we'll have a longer discussion there.
We'll close it.
We'll close with that. Thank you very much for the patient listening, and hope it was useful to all of you. Thank you.
I request the audience to hold on a bit.
Thank you, sir, for your informative and thought-provoking ideas on sustainable development. I now request volunteer Yugandhar to present memento to our speaker. Vivek to present set of books. I request Naveenji to present vote of thanks.
It's actually great to be a part of this beautiful evening. So on behalf of VSC, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Sri Ram Subramanian ji, who took out of his valuable schedule to come here, not only to share his wonderful experience, but to listen to the opinion of the audience. We truly feel rewarded by listening to you, sir. Then we remain grateful to Swami Atma Shraddhanand Ji Maharaj for his untiring guidance and inspiration. And we thank Professor Balaji for his valuable suggestion and support to VSC. We thank our special invitee today, Swami Vimalatmananda Ji. And our thanks to various offices in IIT, especially Office of Dean of Students, ICSR, Center for Continuing Education, and Security Section for providing us the venue, video coverage, and active cooperation and support in organizing this lecture. Finally, my thanks to all our dear friends and other guests whose enthusiastic participation and gracious presence made today's event a memorable one. I'll close this with a quote from Swami Vivekananda. We are what our thoughts have made us. So take care about what you think. Words are secondly, thoughts live, they travel far. Thank you.